So we had a party with friends because, I'm part of the club. So every now and then we have, get together. So we had a nice sauna evening because, it's a club where people can be themselves. And, one met a nice person who just wanted to slap me. And then I just went through with them, how to safely do that. I mean, didn't ended up slapping them, not in the face though.
Were you getting slapped in the face?
No, I mean, they asked me if they could slap me in the face, and I wasn't sure if they could do it safely because that's quite high risk. So I
Mm.
ended up slapping their thigh because it's much safer, and just going through the general how to slap people so you don't actually hurt them, and just have fun. So I made a friend.
There's something coming over me. I never ever felt so free. I'm flying out the energy. Yeah, I'm feeling kinda crazy. Everything's so amazing. Yeah, I jump so high. I hit the sky. I can't believe I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Never thought I could be so big, but it's so good.
I'm Sammy Amounts. This is Happy Slut. Welcome back, Pine Cones. This week is a new and fun, exciting episode where we are talking to our very first anonymous guest on this show. Now, if you've been listening since the very, very beginning of this feed, then you heard the first season of Closet Ed, which is where this show started. Closet Ed is a documentary-style, high-production value show telling stories of people who look totally, quote-unquote, normal on the outside, who are actually flouting societal conventions in the way they live their private lives. Everything from secretly non-monogamous, secretly polyamorous, to secret sex workers, secret kinksters, secret bisexuals. And I got this email from the guest that you're going to hear from today, about a month or two ago. And he said that he had found my podcast, Closet Ed, after hearing me on the Kink Consultant podcast with Amanda Dames, who I love so much. Link to her show in the show notes. And he binged all of season 1 and felt so seen. And he sent me this incredible pitch email to pitch himself as a guest for season 2 of Closet Ed. Now, if you've been listening for a while, you know that season 2 of Closet Ed is kind of up in the air right now. We might make it if we can find partners and funding and get us paid, but it's a very hard show to make as a lone independent creator without funding and without a team, which is why I've pivoted to this much easier to make show, which is still tons of fun, Happy Slut. So I got right back to this person. We're calling him Fox, not his real name. Fox looks like a cis-het, monogamous, vanilla man. In reality, Fox is a genderqueer, demisexual, pansexual kinkster who also sees himself on the asexual spectrum. We'll get into all of that in the episode, but holy crap, I read this email and I was just like, ding, ding, ding. These are boxes I haven't explored on Closet Ed. Yes, I'd love to have you as a guest on Closet Ed, but actually, would you like to come to a more casual conversation for my new show, Happy Slut? And he said yes. Now, yes, he's genderqueer, but any and all pronouns he's comfortable with. So that's why I'm using he, him pronouns. It's similar to me. I don't mind when people call me she. I identify as non-binary, but she is fine. Like, why do we even need gendered pronouns is my take. But we have them, so whatever. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother him. He doesn't like being referred to as a man, though, which I found so interesting. And I wanted to issue a public apology for calling him a man in the outro of last week's episode. So I'm sorry about that. And let this be your example for how to handle a moment where you mess up on somebody's pronouns. You just say sorry and you try to do better. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to feel shamed or anything. All right. So we're going to get into this conversation. This person lives in Europe. This person is a parent. This person has a spouse. This person is so sweet and adorable and utterly normal looking on the outside. And when you hear him talking about what he's been getting up to, I think you're going to find it very compelling. So I won't talk your ear off too much in this intro. Without further ado, here is Fox. Fox, thank you so much for coming on Happy Slut. I'm so excited to be talking to you today.
It's so amazing to be here. I've been listening to you for quite a while, so this is a bit different.
It's so cool. So if I didn't know you and I just saw you and your family at the grocery store, what do you think I would assume about you based on just seeing how you present publicly?
You would probably assume that I'm just a regular cis-het mononormative person who's just on a walk with their family.
So I would see something that looked very vanilla and very normal.
Yeah, and we like to keep it that way.
And we at Happy Slut are committed to keeping it that way. But that being said, what about you is not that? And feel free to go into detail here. How do you actually identify?
So I identify mostly as genderqueer, pansexual, and very much kinky.
All right, amazing. So you are not at all what you seem to be on the
Nope.
surface. Not a man, genderqueer, not straight, pansexual, not vanilla, kinky.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's start with where this journey began for you, because this is kind of a recent development in the last 5 years or so. Is that right?
Well, the thing is, when I started unpacking it, then you start noticing, oh, actually, before and before and before and before, you get
Right.
those little details.
There were breadcrumbs.
Yeah, it's like, oh, right. When I was 12, I actually started playing all the games with female character. That might have indicated something. I mean, doesn't everyone do that?
Like where you were specifically playing games where you got to play a female
Yeah,
character?
it's fun.
Yeah, I've known a lot of genderqueer male-presenting people who do things like virtual reality environments where they get to be female avatars.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, okay. All right, so there were breadcrumbs, but let's talk about how you started discovering all of this about yourself. Where did that begin? About when did that begin? You were already married, you were already a parent,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you're in your 40s, right?
Yeah. Now I'm 41.
Okay. So in the last how many years has this exploration been going on?
I would say, like post-COVID, I started hitting a lot of podcasts, as one does. And then I also noticed that one of my online friends actually posted an review of the Netflix series Bonding. And they were quite heavy in between the lines that they are kinky and poly. So I think that was kind of my, what do you call it? Like spark.
A wake-up call?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So I started going through the podcast and I ended up, getting to know like Sunny Megatron and the Pink Kink podcast and then, the King Consultant, etc.
So you saw a post on social media that one of your friends made reviewing the Netflix documentary Bonding, which is about kink.
Yeah.
And that made you go, "Bing." Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's one of those, the King people exist. And then, when something you actually know comes out, then I'm like, oh,
In the post, it was also sort of subtly an admission that this friend themselves was kinky and probably polyamorous too.
I actually knew that they're polyamorous because they live with two other people, but had no idea that they're kinky as well.
So you said, you know that kinky people exist, but then when it's somebody you know. So something about this post kind of gave you my favorite thing, which is what this podcast is for, social permission to
Yeah,
explore for yourself. Is that
yeah.
right?
I would say so because I think it's like, I spent probably a better part of a year or even more, just going through all the podcasts. And it's like, because I love learning new stuff. And when you have those podcasts which are going like through every kink each week, and like, okay, so after a year, you have a lot of different kinks. You have some idea what you're talking about. And then at some point, I actually went to the Discord server of this podcast and I met a person who was local to me. And they're like, oh, actually, we're having this rope evening locally. Would you be interested to join us? And I could be kind of like your support person if you don't want to go alone. I'm like, hmm.
That's so sweet. Kinky people are so sweet. Like, in BDSM communities, my experience has been everybody understands that this is intense play,
Mm-hmm.
that it's slightly risky. As you know, you need to know what you're doing. You need to play it safe.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they like take care of each other in a way I have rarely seen in other communities. It's so cool.
I mean, I will mention that, not everybody, each community has its own predators, but, the amount of people who actually want to help you is staggering.
Yeah. And the predators, once they're identified, are usually excluded from
Yeah.
there on out. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. So you were exploring on podcasts and then you got invited to a rope party. Was it like Shibari rope?
Yeah, and it's like peer learning event.
A peer learning event. So it's learning how to do it from other people who weren't necessarily professional trainers, but could teach things.
Yeah, so you have like stuff like, you can borrow some rope and then you can tie your own legs, or if somebody else is into just helping you to try it on. It's very social, very, easy to get into. And then I went there for like 6 months, and and realized that, I actually spend more time talking to people than actually doing the rope.
Yeah, there's a sense of community. When you were just listening to podcasts and sort of gathering information, what did you start to figure out about yourself and what you like or might like and not like in real life in the kink scene?
Yeah, so I've been listening a lot to Pink King, and their shtick is that King doesn't have to be about sex.
Right. Yeah. Kink doesn't have to be sexual at all.
Yeah, and that was kind of like my thing. I'm like, oh, nice. I could actually go and explore my heart out without having sex with people, which was like, okay, this is so much easier to negotiate with my wife.
And that was my next question. Where was your wife in all of this? Were you sharing this exploration, this interest with her in the moment, or did you have conversations after a lot of podcast listening before the rope event?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I really wanna go and see what happens. Is it fun for reals? And because with the shibari, it's kind of like, yeah, it's artsy, etc. So it's like easy to get into.
Yeah, it's like a craft.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not that different from getting together with a bunch of people to like knit. We're going to learn how to do knots that can tie other people up for fun, sexy purposes, but could just be for fun.
yeah, yeah. And actually, I'm skipping a bit ahead, but after like 6 months or so, I've actually realized that it's on average riskier than most other kinks if you do it, because all the nerve endings and stuff.
Yeah. You have to know anatomy. You have to
Yeah,
know where not to tie too tight, where not to put pressure.
yeah,
I've never actually done it, but I'm very interested in being shibari tied up.
yeah. I've been 2 times. It's fun. Sorry, three.
For me, I'm so hypersexual that if I allowed somebody to tie me up with shibari, I would like need and expect them to fuck me while I was tied up. Like that's me. But for you, at the beginning anyway, because you and your wife have been monogamous, at least up until maybe very recently, but we'll get into that later. But you were monogamous, and so finding out that kink didn't have to be sexual from the podcast Pink Kink, which I will link to in the show notes so that anybody interested can check it out. Also, the Kink Consultant, which is how you found me, will be linked in the show notes. You found out it doesn't have to be sexual, and you were like, okay, this opens the door. My wife might be okay with this. How'd that first conversation go? How did she take it?
My only memory of that is like surprisingly well, because it's just like, okay, so just don't have sex and go nuts, because I think I might be somewhat on the spectrum, so she's kind of used to that I'm having different hobbies that I'm super passionate about.
Do you mean the autism spectrum?
Yeah. I'm not diagnosed, but everybody who knows me is like, you don't say.
Okay, all right. So there's a suspicion that you might be on the autism spectrum. So
Yeah.
your wife is used to you coming to her with like passionate, obsessive hobbies, not obsessive in a bad way, but like really focused.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me spend the next 6 months learning this one skill I probably won't use ever again. Like, why not?
In this case, though, it's different than a skill. It's a form of self exploration that can be really fulfilling and exciting that you'd never taken on before. So, was she uncomfortable at all? Was it like, okay, no sex, do what you want, but like, this is weird for me? Or was it more like, oh, it's really interesting. Yeah, I support you exploring this?
I would say it's somewhere in between because it's like because it's peer learning. So if it's like weekly, then you can't really practice on other people. So I'm kind of like asking, would you be into this? And I just got the answer that I could, but she's not really into it. And I realized at that point, like I don't really like doing stuff with people who are not into it. So I'm
Hmm.
like, I mean, I just rather do my legs because it's more fun. But but I think the whole point is like, yeah, she wasn't against it. It's like, yeah, I mean, you do you boo, and I think that was kind of the point of it. I do have to say, that's why I love her because she just lets me do stuff like this.
And she's not kinky at all, it sounds like.
Let's say no comments to that one
Okay, okay, okay.
because I don't have her permission to spill any beans on whether it is or isn't. So
Totally fine. So then I'll ask you, are your kink explorations so far solely with people outside of your marriage?
yeah.
Okay. So you started with these rope events, these peer learning shibari events. Did you learn anything about yourself as far as whether you prefer to tie or be tied or both?
I would say both. I actually ended up getting tied by one random person because he just posted like online ad. I'm like, okay, we can do that. I mean, it's a public place, so why not? And he started it fairly easy. Then we did a tighter one, and I'm like, okay, is it hurting too much, or would it be nice for it to be tighter? But I'm like, okay, let's not overdo it my first time, so we stop it at that. But it's fun. You have like 10 plus people in the room, so it feels safe.
All right. So this community felt welcoming to you, it
Yeah,
sounds like from the beginning. And you
yeah.
started with the rope play. So where have you branched out to since then?
So yeah, so like I went for 6 months to the road community mostly, and then I found my local kink club. And then I noticed that because like I'm like 6'2" or 6'3" or something, and 200 pounds plus, and I do wall climbing, so I have enough strength and mass to keep people pinned down, even if they struggle.
That was kind of a hot thing to say, Fox. Oh,
Yeah, I'm like, even previously, I'm like, I didn't really understand that might be actually super awesome for people who actually like
yeah.
to struggle. I'm like, and then I get like multiple comments like, okay, I would really like to just be held down. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, we can do that. So, yeah, so from there on, it's quite easy to just expand. Have you ever done impact play?
Just a very little bit. Like, I've been spanked. I've occasionally been tapped with those like leather riding crop type things that don't actually hurt, or like the floggers that don't actually hurt. I don't really want to hurt, but I think sensation is fun. I don't want it to go all the way into like pain. I have been spanked hard enough for it to like leave a mark the next day and
Ooh,
actually really hurt. And the
yeah.
mark was hot, but the pain was not.
Yeah, that's why, I've noticed, with different people, the preference is so different. And
Yeah.
I think what is actually hot for me is like trying to figure out what works for this person.
Yeah.
Because yeah, some people like to be spanked, some people like to be bitten, some people like to be just, squeezed. And then I have a bit too big collection of different implements to hit people with because, different people like different things. For example, I have one whip, which is I don't need to hurt anyone too hard, but it leaves a nasty mark. So if you're into marks, but don't like pain that much, I have something for you.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Product recommendations. I love it.
Yeah, it's super fun. There are different people who like different things, and I've just noticed that, I don't need to go too hard, but, if you go long enough, it's super fun to just notice that they're completely exhausted and have gotten exactly what they wanted. So I think that's the hottest thing ever, and you don't really need sex for it. I mean, you can add sex to it, but you don't need to.
You don't need to. You said you're a switch earlier, but you're talking about holding people down who like to be held down so they can struggle against you and not be able to get away. And you're talking about impact play where you're delivering the impact. Do you also enjoy being impacted?
A bit, yeah. The problem is like I do like rock climbing in a public gym, so I go to a shower in a public gym, and I don't want to be out. Having marks on me is a bit of a no-no. But I have one lovely friend who just tied me down and just, did some nasty things with impact implements that do not leave marks. So
How nasty? Why'd you say nasty? What's nasty about it? Tell me. What made it nasty?
I would say it's fun.
I'm trying to get details here. What implements? Where did they hit you?
Hmm, what do you call it? Is it a strap? Like, piece of leather that has like is double-leaded at the end.
Okay,
So
yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of like the implement. So because we realized that, if you do pain to me, at first it just I think for a normal person, pain is like at first it hurts a little, then it hurts a lot, and then it hurts too much, right? For me, it's like first it's pleasant. It's just pleasant. It just somehow maps differently. Then it's painful, and then I started giggling.
Giggling?
Yeah,
So what might be too much for somebody like me, for you, makes you giggle.
yeah, and which is a problem if you have a sadist doing the hurting,
They want you to
and
hurt and you keep laughing.
yeah,
Have you seen the movie Little Shop of Horrors?
not yet, but I think I might need to.
It's an old movie, but it's so good. It holds up. But there's this dentist character that Steve Martin plays who is a sadist. And he
Oh,
gets a customer played by Bill Murray, who is a masochist. And
oh.
he starts trying to hurt him in his like dentist appointment. And Bill Murray is just laughing and like, yeah, give me more. It's one of the best scenes ever. That's you.
Well, my problem is like it's kind of uncontrolled giggling, so it's
Yeah,
very hard to stop.
that's so cute.
I know, I've gotten that. The thing is, my top is a true sadist, so he just reduced the intensity of the pain, so I'm still in the pain zone.
How counterintuitive. That's so fun.
Yeah,
Oh, that's great. So your top in impact play is, you just said he. Is he a man or is he also gender fluid but uses he,
I mean,
him
the
pronouns?
person who topped me is a he. The,
Okay.
I've mostly topped just female or gender fluid people. Yeah, no, sorry, I topped female as well. Yeah, so yeah.
Oh, okay, great. So he's also a switch. Okay, so you've been topped by everyone. You have topped everyone as far as gender representation.
I've been topped most by oh, sorry, no, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, there was one female as well. Yeah, sorry, my memory is hazy because
Well, it's funny because people in the kink world talk about going into subspace
Mm.
when you're being topped, which actually, could you define subspace for any listener who doesn't know what it means?
Well, the thing is, I can try, but the thing is, I haven't been there too much, so I can't speak for everyone. But I think it's kind of from what I've heard from one of the subby friends, he said it's more like it's quite close to a trance state.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. I've never experienced it either, but people report this state that they call subspace where you're being topped really well and you just kind of go into a trance and you just completely surrender to the experience. You're not trying to control anything. You're flowing. You're in a flow. It sounds to me a lot like what creatives describe as flow state, except it's happening within the
Oh,
experience of kink.
yeah, actually, now that you say that, yeah, that's actually quite close because, usually, let's say I had one top who liked whistling to just, I think, to concentrate or something. I usually hate whistling, but when she tied me up, I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. So it kind
Oh,
of felt like then, it kept me like kind of connected, even though I usually don't like that, but it in that scene, it just felt perfect.
that's so interesting. Yeah, that speaks to how I've come to think of kink. It has so much to do with all five of your senses, like really being present in your body and in what you're perceiving sensorially, not
Mm.
just with sensation on your skin, but also with other things like sound, definitely sight. You could incorporate elements of taste. You could incorporate elements of smell if you wanted to. We
Oh
think about
God.
burning, like dripping wax and stuff like that. Like there are sounds and smells associated with things like that. And it's so much about sensation, about sensory input. And I think that's a really cool way to think about it that a lot of people
Hmm.
gloss over because they think kink is just about pain or
Oh
domination.
no, no,
And
no,
it's
no.
right. It's more about giving sensory experiences that are unique and intense and pull you right into the present moment.
Yeah, I think it's mostly about, finding what different people are into. So, and also like what mood are they in. So, for example, like, if I have one friend and sometimes they're like pain, sometimes they just need to be cuddled or held down or whatever. It just depends on the day. So, you might do some plans beforehand, but then you just need to check on the day, okay, so what are you feeling today? Because, you don't want to just do something because you agree to, because that's not fun for everyone. Also, on the wax play, it's not just a burn. It's super fun to take. You have those plastic knives that are used for butter, so they aren't sharp at all. Those are awesome for wax removal after you've dripped wax all over the person.
Oh, that's fun. And I bet that feels really good.
Yeah, and if you drip like, two candles worth on the person, you can do one of those slicing motions, so it might feel dangerous even though it's a completely dull implement.
And that danger is a little bit of a thrill.
Yeah, it feels super dangerous, but it's not. So, you probably have to kind of trip and somehow plunge it. And probably the blade would probably break because it's plastic. So,
It would just hurt a little when the blade broke.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are very risky plays in King. I'm one of those kind of people who just try to minimize the risk. I mean, I think I quite like this personal responsibility uh, individual consensual sorry, what was it? It was prick, so it's personal responsibility informed consensual kink. I like that one.
Prick. Personal responsibility informed, consensual kink. I fucking love that. I love that so much. What a good acronym.
Yeah, I mean, pink kink again. So
Oh, great. Thank you, Pink Kink. Oh, that's great.
I just like the personal responsibility because it's not just the top who should know what we're doing. The bottom also should have some clue, what their limits are and what they don't want to do, because it's, yeah, like as a top, I feel unsafe if my bottom. I wouldn't play with a person who doesn't have a clue what is going on.
And I think that's so smart. In our world, there are so many people who've been traumatized in different ways, particularly around intimacy and sexuality. And you can get into some really, really bad situations with people who want to be bottomed but have no experience and don't know
Hmm.
their limits because they could cross a line into, oh no, I don't want this anymore, but they might not be able to say it in the moment.
Can I take you on a small tangent?
Yeah.
Because we've talked about physical sensations now, and if you go to emotional play, that is super highly underlined. So let's say if you want to be humiliated, bullied, or something like that, then if you really don't have a person who wants to get you out of there, you could have very nasty reaction to that. So
Hmm.
I would definitely only play stuff like that with somebody I actually trust and know, for a longer time.
Just to avoid any potential of causing real damage.
I mean, there's always a risk, but if I know you enough that I know what triggers you and how you'd react when you get too close to being actually harmed, then I can, okay, let's not push that way. Let's go back. Come on now. Okay, yes, you're a valuable person. I love you. You're awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. So, yeah, what you're describing is so important in kink dynamics, especially when you're the top, when you're the
Mm.
dominant one, is attuning to what is going on with your partner so that you can keep an eye on if they're getting too close to that line, too close to that limit. And you have to watch, you have to pay attention to
Hmm.
everything, their sounds, their body language, their facial expressions. You have to be so present in the moment to see that person fully, to make sure you're taking care of them in that way, which I think is such a beautiful thing and such a gorgeous form of intimacy.
It's super fun. Plus, of course, you also want to go slowly because, you should be able to use your safe word. So, if people are, giving me some yellows, just a sign to stop, that's
Hmm.
how I know that I can actually go deeper with them because I know they actually can use their safe words.
Ah, that's a great point.
Yeah, that's why, if you play with me and you give me yellow or something like that, you get praise, a lot of praise, because that's what I like. I know that you know your limits and you can communicate them.
What does praise sound like? How would you praise a sub that you were playing with? Give it just talk to me like you were doing that. I want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, hey, thank you for letting me know what your limit was. You did so well. You should do that every single time. I will just tell you how well you did. You did it
Oh.
so well.
God, I love being praised. I know I didn't even do anything in this. I told you to show me what you do, and I'm still like, oh, that feels so good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
um, okay, so you've explored impact play, rope play, wax play.
Yeah,
Sounds like you've explored humiliation and degradation. Is
yeah.
that something that you like being done to you, or something that you're just willing to do for others if they want?
I think I probably will get more into humiliation slash degradation because I have some ideas how that could be done.
For you?
L- Yeah.
What are your ideas? Can you share them?
I mean, I have a friend who told me that, he might want to show me how to suck dick. So, that sounds fun.
Oh, well, now we're segueing. Okay, so wait. So we've been in the part of the story where this was just non-sexual kink exploration to protect your monogamous agreement in your marriage.
Yeah.
But at some point, your desires shifted. Now, when we first talked, you told me that you were on the ace spectrum, the asexual spectrum. Do you still feel that way?
Oh, yeah. That's the weird part. I feel like I'm more in that section than before because the only people with whom I have like interest in playing are the ones with whom I have emotional connection for a longer period of time, mostly. So that's the demi part. So, some ace people don't want to have sex, period. But some ace people want to have sex because, it feels nice, but it's not like anything special. And, for demi people, it's like you need the emotional connection in order to have, let's say, lust in there. And I think I'm somewhere between sex positive ace and demi because I think I'm moving somewhere in between there, between people.
Interesting. So when we say sex positive asexual, is that kind of like you think of sex the same way you think of like getting a massage? Like it's nice, it feels nice, but it's not like a necessity?
I think for me, sex is the same like as kinks. So like okay, let's explore impact play. Let's explore sex, like or let's try how we could do like blowjobs or face sitting or whatever.
Okay. All right. So you were exploring non sexual kink for a while. At what
hmm
point did you start to feel like I need to explore a little bit of sexual stuff in here? And how did you navigate that with your wife?
Okay, the first part is much easier because I think it's like 2 years into it. I kind of like the feeling that I've been exploring quite a lot of different kinks. And it's like, because as I mentioned, it feels like that the sex is just part of different explorations. So it's not like I have to, but being a decade into a long relationship and not wanting to end that, I'm like, would I be okay if I never get to explore that side? I'm like, oh, actually, shit.
Yeah, actually, even though it's not the primary point of it, you want to be able to explore it somewhat.
Yeah.
Was there a specific moment or activity you were engaging in where you had that realization or that caused you to have that realization later?
I don't think so because I have multiple play partners and we do different things with them. So it's not like I just because I think that was kind of part of why it made it possible to negotiate that I didn't have like anything preset. So I'm like, okay, let's negotiate this with my wife. And if I get it negotiated, then I can ask my play partners, if anyone is interested in it, because it felt that that's the only way I could do it ethically, to be honest.
Okay. So, what was the first thing you negotiated with your wife when it comes to exploring sexual play in your kink?
Actually, we just because I just realized that when we were negotiating that anything but sex goes, I started realizing that what the heck is sex actually? So
What the heck is sex, actually?
yeah, because like for
What do
me
you
it's
mean?
like
What do you mean by that?
so do you consider kissing to be sex?
On its own, no. I would consider any play that involves stimulating genitalia in an erotic way to be sex. So I think of, oral is sex.
Mhm.
Fingering is sex. Penetration, obviously, P and V is sex. But kissing by itself, I don't think I would put that in the category of sex, although it can be a part of sex, obviously.
What about impact play on genitals?
That's the gray area.
Yeah. And
Because based on what I just said, yeah, that would be sex.
okay, how about wax play on boobs?
God, so it's not genitals, but it's an erogenous
Yeah,
zone.
yeah,
It's in a gray area for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So the more I explored during those 2 years, the more I'm like, I don't want to go there because I'm not sure if this would be okay or not.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. It changes things when you involve pussies and dicks and boobs. Yep.
yeah,
And I
pretty
would
much,
say
yeah,
assholes. Assholes also changes things.
yeah,
But maybe butt cheeks is okay. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's also, doesn't matter what clothing you are in or what clothing is the other person wearing. If you're naked, does it make it sexual already? Is it okay?
Is nudity automatically
Yeah,
sexual?
yeah,
In the context of kink. Because
yeah,
nudity isn't automatically sexual.
yeah.
Like, obviously, there's sauna culture.
Mm-hmm.
Even here in the States where we don't have wonderful sauna culture, which I wish we fucking did. It would be so great. But
It's
even
fun.
here in the States, we're naked in the locker rooms. We're naked in a hot
Yeah,
tub. Like, it doesn't have to be sexual. But nudity in kink exploration is, again, I guess, in a gray area.
it's very much gray area.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
were you not engaging in that?
So for me, it was like I stayed away from anything that involved contact of genitals. Also
Okay.
kissing, because it felt to me erotic, to be honest.
Yeah.
For me, it was easier to just negotiate. So, how about I just go explore stuff with people, like beyond that? For me, it's just removing the no sex clause because I didn't have any plans to, let's say, go and do PIV sex. It's like I have no idea what I want to do. It depends on the people. I have no idea who's going to say yes, if any of them is going to say yes, and I just want to know that, I can just negotiate with them, and I just want to finish negotiating here first.
Yes, clear it with your spouse
Yeah.
and then go and see what's actually possible with your play
Yeah, exactly.
partners. So what have you cleared with your spouse?
We talked for like 3 months. I started to just going through it in that way that I would like to explore things with people. That was pretty much like month 1 and just see what reaction it causes, and then just, telling point blank that I would like to explore sexual things with other people, which I think that was the riskiest part for me because I'm like, "Okay, will I get kicked out of my house? That would be less than
Oh,
fun."
did you really think that there was a risk of that?
When this was one of those, I really need this, and she just told me, "How stupid are you for thinking that?"
That she
So
might kick you out of the house for
yeah,
having the conversation. Aw, that's sweet. I'm so glad.
yeah, that was awesome. But then we know. I mean, I know that it's mostly for her that she wants to feel safe. That
Yeah.
it's not like I'm not trying to replace her. It's something that I need. I think she kind of understands that. Went in this from monogamous standpoint, so I think she still wants somebody who loves her for what she is for the rest of her life, and I want to do that. And I would say I have awesome friends, and I've also gotten close enough to them that I also see their faults. So it's a quite interesting situation that I can see my spouse's faults, I can see my friend's faults, and I'm like, I'm quite happy with my spouse. I'd rather not trade those faults for anybody else's. I'm very happy here. I love my friends. They're awesome. But I'm not sure if I could live with any of them.
When you say your friends, you mean your play partners?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the difference, to be honest? Because play partner, but I think it's easier to just start to be a play partner first because you can just test. It seems that, going friends seems to have made it deeper.
Oh, for sure. An
Yeah.
emotional connection, well, at least for me, it always makes things feel
Yeah.
deeper and
Yeah.
safer.
Yeah.
So initially, your wife's response was, I just want to make sure that you aren't trying to replace me.
Her first reaction was most like, you what now?
Yeah, like, wait, what do you mean? Like, this is
Yeah.
not what we discussed. Okay, so initial dismay and then eventually, allowing herself to be more vulnerable and like, what does this mean for us?
Yeah.
And with lots of reassurance, where did you eventually get after this 3 months of talking?
Well, let me just rephrase it because the 3 months of talking is like I'm suggesting, what the framework could be, and then I allow her some 4 weeks of processing time. Then I
Ah,
get back to the topic and see, so what do you think? I think my goal was to not pressure her because I've read about, people pressuring other people into situations and then they tend to blow up in their face. So I'm like,
yeah.
let's not do that.
Let's not do that. Let's take it nice and easy and slow.
Yeah, so but, after, like, 3 months, I'm like because, like, I was kind of prepared that it might take a year.
Oh, wow. So you were
So
you were settling in for the long haul of like negotiating this
oh, definitely.
and holding off on any kind of exploration of that nature until that
Yeah,
process
yeah,
completed.
I've had, like, did non-sexual play for, like, 2 years already, so I'm like, unless it's for the rest of my life, I have time, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. So have you come to a new agreement now, or are you still in that process?
Yeah, so, like, after 3 months or so, she said that, like because I asked her, "Do you have any, let's say, status updates?" And she's like, that she might be okay with me having friends with benefits kind of situation. I'm like, "Yep, that's pretty much what I'm thinking of." So I'm like,
Amazing.
"Yeah, that was a very weird situation." I'm like, "I did not expect this to actually work."
Oh, so she surprised you.
Yeah, very much so. She still said that, for now, because she's still not sure, if it's going to work for the long term, but she gets that I want to explore. That's really something I need to just be able to do. And I'm just hoping that, in the long term, it's going to be still the okay, let's just keep doing this because I don't have any need of expanding this. I don't want to replace her. I don't want to move in with anybody else. I just want to have friends with whom I have kinky fun with. And that's pretty much it. Small tangent. Actually, I've realized, I'm one of those people who get crushes on people so easily.
Me
And then
too.
I'm like, oh, I can actually do something about them. Hmm.
All right. So then, since you've, this is really recent, I'm pretty sure that you had this conversation with your wife and got
Yeah, like
this
2
green
months
light.
ago or so.
So, in the last 2 months, what have you explored?
Well, I had like 3 steady play partners and 3 others whom I've played less with. And in those 3 months, I've already explored some sex stuff with 3 of them.
Okay, details, details, details. What sex stuff?
Um, God, you're so evil. Let's say it this way. I've realized that people with vulvas seem to like people going down on them with enthusiasm and just, oh, could you just tell me how this works and how I can make this work for you? So that has been fun.
Oh, yeah. Basically, just like imagine you're starving and I'm the first food you've had in
Mm-hmm.
days. Do it like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, but also, we have lovely dental dams nowadays because, the only person with whom I'm fluid bound is my spouse. So that's kind of given.
So you're
So,
using barriers for oral sex.
yeah, for everything.
Yeah, that's
So,
really cool. That's not a very common practice in the circles I travel in. I mean, people talk about dental dams. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, a dental dam is basically just a latex square or rectangle that
mhm,
you put over the vulva. And so you can perform oral sex through it. So your tongue,
mhm.
your mouth is not actually touching the skin of the vulva. It is a safer sex practice that is talked about a lot, and I've never seen it done. in any
Oh,
in any of the spaces I've been in, at least in the circles I've traveled in, people don't think of oral sex as high risk. I don't see people using condoms for oral sex on men very much
really?
either, almost never. Even at
Okay.
sex parties, even at sex clubs. So that's like really advanced that you're doing that. I love that you're doing that. How is it? Does it still feel intimate? Do you still feel like you're getting something out of it? Because a lot of people report that they want to be able
Mhm.
to taste the person.
Yeah, that's the only thing that is downside because of course, you can't taste the other person. But the one person with whom I've tried it, and she said that it's almost the same. I'm like, okay, I'll take the almost the same because that's what we can do.
Yeah.
And one brand of those dental dams it looks like mini panties, so you can actually wear it.
Right. Yeah. They're basically really thin latex panties.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what that means is that you can sit on my face, which is nice.
Which is nice. And you don't have to hold it in place and stop it from
Yeah,
slipping around.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
So that's
that's
very
smart.
handy. Yeah.
Okay. So you've done a little oral sex with barriers. Have you received?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
He said
yeah,
that so cute.
yeah.
He said, "Listen, so you guys can't see Fox, but I can see Fox as we're recording because we thought that would be more personal." And when he just said that, yeah, you just turned your face up like to the light, like a sweet little animal in the sun. It's like basking in the glow of the memory. It was so cute.
Okay, fine, you want this story, I'm guessing you have those flavored condoms over there as well, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so I found, like, 2 brands which had, like, multiple different ones, so we had 8 different ones. So,
8 flavors.
8 flavors.
And were you switching flavors for the fun
Yeah,
of it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was
I I
fun.
I I
That's
I mean
fun.
I mean, we wanted to have some kind of scientific method to, have some, like, which is the best one? Uh-huh.
Which was the best one?
I ended up with bubble gum.
Bubblegum. Ooh, I like it. That's so retro. So you said earlier that you were thinking somebody was offering to teach you how to give a blowjob.
Yeah.
Have you given a blowjob yet?
Well, the thing is, with one of my friends, we tried on a dildo. So she held one, and then just try to make it look sexy. So and she seemed to enjoy that.
Good job. Okay, so as far as sexual play goes, you've been experimenting with oral. Anything else?
I mean, I did actually buy myself a strap-on because my problem is that I don't feel confident enough with doing like PIV stuff. But when you have a strap-on, you can actually focus on, that are they having fun? Do you have a good position? And then, depending on the person, you can switch for different sizes.
So you wearing a strap on.
Yeah,
All right. All right. What's the confidence issue about?
my background is like that, you have to do PIV and the penis person has to come and then the sex ends. I'm like, I'm
Patriarchal
not.
sex is what I call that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's freaking annoying. But if you have a nice strap on, then you can just see what works with what size and what position, and then you're not limited by the direction. And
Are you not confident about being able to come at all or coming too quickly or like where's the
uh,
confidence issue?
I would say pretty much everything, like starting with just being able to maintain the erection. To be honest,
Right, because
because
this is a new territory for you
yeah.
and it can be really intimidating. Yeah.
Yeah, and plus, because we use condoms, then if you lose your erection, you need to switch to condoms, etc. I'm like, oh fuck's sake. So
Yeah.
let's try to learn the technique and what works for this person, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, sort of like baby steps. It sounds like you've been really good about baby steps through this whole process, which has allowed you to develop these new friendships that feel intimate and navigate everything with your wife in a way that hasn't blown up your marriage.
At least for now. I hope it stays that way.
Well, it sounds like you're taking great care.
I'm trying to.
Oh, you are. You are. You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
I just have
Oh,
one last question. Oh, yeah. Did something occur to you?
yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah, I might like the praise also.
You've been so good, Fox. You've been such a good little switch.
Oh,
I'm
it's so
sorry. You're
cute.
not very little. You've been such a good large switch. My last question for you is what are you personally getting out of this exploration? How is it adding to your life? How is it changing the way you feel and the way you look at things? Y'all, he just got the biggest smile on his face. Okay, go on.
I mean, kind of realized why people are doing stuff with me because I'm like, so could you just tell me what's your biggest fantasy and then we'll see how we can make that happen. What makes me tick is to get people to just to look at their face and they're like, oh, we actually did this. I was thinking about this for years and I've never thought I would actually do this. I'm like, yep. So what's next?
So that fantasy fulfillment and being able to give that to others.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Plus, usually when you start doing that, because you need to actually talk it through and get close enough that, everybody trusts each other, then, the next one is usually easier and things get crazy quite fast.
When you say crazy, what do you mean?
Oh, I mean, kind of like, let's say, I thought that threesomes would be the stuff of legends or porn, and now I'm like, actually, those sound fun, or maybe even four or five some.
But back to the actual question, like, what are you getting out of this? Is it making you feel good about yourself? Is it making you feel fulfilled? Is it making you feel adventurous? Like, what is it doing for you, for your confidence, for your self-esteem, your experience of life?
I feel free, and that's amazing. It feels like I'm just I see somebody and I can talk to them and just be honest, what we are into and see if we have something in common. And then I feel I have so much to give. And it's like, uh, you can see me on the videos. I'm like, I look like your regular Joe. And then, when we're doing some fantasies that people have just imagined that they'll never do, and the way they look at me and the way we can talk about it afterwards is just it's kind of like, making my fantasies come true. So like I'm the person in those freaking storybooks that, oh, I actually helped them and I know them. I actually know people who are doing so insanely awesome things and we're having fun. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what kind of universe is this? So yeah, it's like, kind of like, did I go to somewhere did I kind of like die and get reborn? Something like this shouldn't be happening. Like the mainstream tells you that, you can't do this, except apparently you can if you just talk to people.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think why I probably gravitated towards you as well as like fuck patriarchy and just let's do something that works for us. So yeah, I think there's very much there's a lot of that in there as well.
Hell
Like,
yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, Fox, will you come back and talk to me again at some point and give me updates?
I might if you ask nicely.
All right. I'll always ask nicely. Thank you so much for talking to me today. It was an absolute pleasure.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Feeling so alive. So long till the sorry days. Yeah, bye bye bye.
I just loved that conversation, man. When you find people in this world who are up against all the same paradigms that keep us all feeling restricted, and they decide, okay, I'm going to very thoughtfully and slowly and considerately of the people in my life start taking small baby steps towards exploring my full authenticity, my freedom. And I'm going to do it without capsizing my family. I'm going to do it without lying or deceiving anyone ever. I'm going to do it ethically. These doors are open to me, and I'm going to be very careful to care for all the people in my life in a truly nourishing way. Whew, the doors can just open wide for you. And I'm so happy that Fox has been able to open those doors. He wasn't kidding when he said that he thought that his marriage might be over when he tried to have the conversation about introducing sexual play. We were talking about that as he was having those conversations with his wife. And he was so scared that even trying to open up the conversation would be the end of everything. And to be honest, it's a valid fear. There are plenty of people who are married who would say, no, that's a deal breaker. And the fact that you even want it is a deal breaker. There are people like that. If you're a person like that, I would encourage you to maybe zoom out a little bit. If you've just listened to Fox's story and how happy he sounds and how fulfilled and how he's clearly as devoted to his wife and family as ever, and this is just about exploring and feeling free and seeing what he's capable of and getting that delicious validation of the looks of the faces of his partners when they're ecstatic because of things that he did for them. And maybe consider that if that's something that's available to you or available to your partner, maybe it's worth exploring. Maybe it doesn't have to be a knee-jerk deal breaker. Maybe you can have conversations and just talk about it. And yes, big feelings might come up, and that's okay. But if we're all on the same team in a relationship, then we should be able to work through problems like this as a team. One of the hardest things in relationships is when there is a mismatch in desire as far as what you want to explore. And I think that if you really love somebody and are really committed to having a full life with them, if you're misaligned on certain desires, giving them the freedom to go explore those desires with others will probably bring you closer than ever. And I think it's worth a shot. I think it's probably better than restricting and denying and possibly letting resentment fester. That's just my take. You do you, boo. All right. So that's it for this week's episode. As usual, please follow me and the show on Instagram at samia.mounts and at Happy Slutcast. I'm also on TikTok at Happy Slutcast. If you would like to support the show, if this is doing something for you, if you are personally benefiting from these conversations and stories and all of this social permission to be able to go out and get the fulfilling sex and love life of your dreams, please consider supporting my work financially. We live in capitalism. We can't escape it. I'd love to just give it to you for free and have my needs met by a kind universal income situation, but that's not where we're at yet. So your financial support is greatly appreciated and very much necessary for me to keep going. You can support me in one of two ways. You can subscribe to my Substack, sammyamounts.substack.com. I release an essay every Friday. Every other Friday, they are free, and on the alternating Fridays, they are for paid subscribers only. So if you become a paid subscriber, you'll get access to all of it. That is one way to support this show. Another way to support this show is by making a direct financial donation via Venmo or Cash App. I am Samia-Mounts on Venmo. I am Samia Mounts on Cash App. Thank you to those who have donated. I fucking love you so much. It is wild how invigorating it feels when I see cash donations come in or paid Substack subscriptions come in, because it's always just like this ping of, look, your work helped somebody and that's why I'm doing it. It's the greatest. I love it when I get emails and comments and DMs from listeners saying that something has helped them, or asking questions for clarity, or even giving me some constructive criticism. So reach out to me as well. If you'd like to be on the show, either as an anonymous guest or non-anonymous guest, email me at happyslutcast@gmail.com and we'll talk. All right, my loves, thank you so much for tuning in. I got another great episode for you next week with trans icon Mila Jam, who has promised me that she will dish on her exciting sex and love life. So that'll be really fun. Come back next week for that. For now, babies, I love you, and I hope you're exploring your best slut lives this week. Bye, sluts.